welcome to the third lesson in our dance skills series. So the last time we looked at applying dynamics to our phrases to change the way that we did them and make them more interesting and less predictable. This time we're going to be using space to try and see how we can move our phrases around, change the levels, change the way and size that we do them, and see if we can make our dances fit in the spaces that we are having to do them in. That might be a very tiny space, might be a slightly bigger space, so be mindful of everything around you. And we're just going to see how we get on. So the first thing we're going to think about is pathways, which is how you are travelling through the space and how, so say for example, if you had your phrase, you, instead of just doing it, forwards and backwards, can you actually travel your phrase through the space by using pathways? The first one is a straight pathway. So that's literally just walking in a straight line, so you're doing a phrase, whatever it is, in a straight pathway. The second one is a curved pathway. So that is tracing curved, like how you can use curves, and such as that. And then you've also got a zigzag pathway. So give these all a go. Be here, there, back this way, that way, this way. So you're currently going in zigzags through the space. What I want you to do now is think about your phrase that you did before. If you've forgotten it, you can make another one up. And see if you can actually travel that phrase using one of the pathways, or try them all, and see how you can make it more interesting by going through the space using different pathways. So if I use the phrase that I used before, then I could, instead of just doing my leap forwards, I could do a leap to the side, turn diagonal pathway down, gesture up. I'm going to do a circular pathway, jumping this way, and then I could then do my travel forwards in a zigzag to finish. So see how you can incorporate the circular, straight and diagonal pathways. So the next thing to think about is levels. Some of you might have already put this into your phrase, but you've basically got a low level, a mid level and a high level. So I'm currently at a low level, then a mid level might be like if I was on my knees, or any kind of way from your knees to standing, that's kind of a mid level. Then a high level is when you are on tiptoes, or when you are jumping. So see how you can, if you haven't already, get a place in your phrase where you are on the floor, you're at mid-level, and you're trying to get a high level through jumps or leaps. Next one is your directions. When we are performing, it's very common for us to choreograph something that is just facing the audience the whole time. But actually, it can be really interesting in a phrase if you are facing in different directions, especially when there's a big group of you all facing different directions. It can look really effective. But see about, if you can, start your phrase, rather than just facing the front, try and face like at a different angle, whatever angle that might be, and see if you can continue to change the direction you're facing as you perform it. So say if I'm here, similar to before, the pathways, because when you're changing your direction, your pathway is going to change by itself. And see if when you're doing it, you can literally be constantly changing direction. And think about as well, like depending on your audience, audiences are typically sat all in together in the front, but sometimes they can be sat in what's called in the round, so they're completely surrounding you, which means that when you're making your phrase, you don't have your back to certain people the whole time. So see if you can use your phrase, change the direction you're facing in, and try and make it, use your phrase, change the direction you're facing in, and try and make it a whole 3D performance. The last one we're going to look at today is the size of your movement. So space isn't just using the space that you have in the room, it's your own personal space. So when you are standing, you're in this thing that's called a kinesphere. So your kinesphere is the whole area that your limbs can reach. So it's kind of like your bubble. So mine would be this wide, and then this is basically as far as your reach. That can include your legs. So your kinesphere is your bubble. Can you change the size of your movement within your bubble? So say for example, with my gesture, which was this, could I do it small, or could I really extend it and make it bigger? So think about, with the size of your movement, you could repeat it, so you could do it like once small, once big. You could do anything that's just going to basically change up what you're doing and make it even more exciting. Thing to think about, when we were together before and we had our big class, we were able to do patterns and spatial design. So this is how, using your bodies in the space, you could make different patterns and design like different shapes when you were weaving together, or when we were kind of staggered. So some people would be at the front, some people would be at the back. Formations is considered one of the relationship technical skills, but really it's kind of the shapes you were making in the space when we were starting in circles or squares or lines. It's how, if you think about looking at the space from a bird's eye view, what would you see? And it's so lovely if you think about people kind of moving in beautiful patterns and shapes on space. You know, like when ants are kind of in rows, think about, can you make your dance so that it would look really stunning just to see the people weaving and moving? So perhaps you want to think about doing something that's in unison with others or in canon. But yeah, so the space can be made really, really powerful. So even though if your actions are saying one thing, if your spatial design is also really good, then it's going to become even more effective. But that's obviously something that we'll look at when we are together. It's very difficult to do that as a soloist. So what I'd like you to do for this week's task is take your phrase of your 5 basic body actions. Make sure that you've got at least 2 dynamic pairs applied to them. Then please add some pathways, changes of direction, and also the size of your movement as well. See if you can do that, and please continue to keep submitting them for me. Next week will be the last one, which will be relationships. So see if you're able to get someone else from your household to do this with you. And I will see you then.